Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Some of the most meaningful jewelry you own isn't new. It's inherited. A ring from a grandmother, a necklace full of memories, but no longer your style. Duke's Jewelers reimagines family heirlooms into custom pieces you'll actually wear and love. Working one-on-one, Duke's designers honor the original story while creating something fresh and modern. Don't let meaningful jewelry sit unused. Let it live on beautifully. Visit Duke's Jewelers in Springville or online at dukesjewelers.com, where old stories become new treasures.
What's that?
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. We've got Nick Olczyk at 11:30. We'll get back into the Jazz here in a second. Ben, we haven't talked about the Raiders adding Kirk Cousins. How are you feeling about that?
Can't believe we didn't lead the show with
How's
that.
Salazar feeling
Can't
about that?
believe we started with Kyle Whittingham's neck and not Kirk Cousins.
He signed like a 5-year deal worth $172 million, which apparently is just a 1-year deal worth $20.
Yeah. But if they keep him around, he keeps getting more and more money.
But why, if you're Kirk Cousins,
that is how contracts work.
Why
Correct.
would you?
Well, it's non-guaranteed. You hear 5 years and $100+ million.
Yeah, the NFL is silly how they do their contracts. Why would he sign up for that again, though? Because they're going to draft
Mendoza.
Mendoza, yeah. They're going to draft Mendoza number 1. He just got out of a situation where Atlanta drafted his replacement the same time they signed him. I guess $20 million goes a long way.
$20 million is better than not $20 million.
He's signing up for the same thing, which, by the way, I like in concept. But I don't know if Kirk Cousins, does he have enough gas in the tank to...
No, that's exactly right. He only has a half tank of gas.
Right.
So he can only play 6 games, and then when the Raiders have been eliminated from playoff contention, they can go to Mendoza, give him a much softer landing, and then say, well, we're going to let you play it out.
But see, I think, like, if you're going to put him in at Game 6, you might as well put him in at Game 1. Find a quarterback that will let him sit for a year or 2 and then play him.
And maybe Cousins
I mean?
can, but no, he wasn't able to do that in Atlanta.
No, I don't think he can. And I'm kind of a Kirk Cousins defender in a weird way, but that made no sense. But then again, the Raiders don't make any sense. You think there's a chance they sign Cousins and think they're going to move off number 1?
No.
I wouldn't either.
No. But Cousins, and for Kirk's sake, is if he plays well, he can say, hey, look, I still have something to offer, and look at what happened to Sam Darnold, who just won the Super Bowl. You know, and if I can be the next Sam Darnold, look, and he's way older than Sam Darnold, right? But he can say, look, if that guy can still play, or Geno Smith can still play. And Kirk has done this already several times in his career. But, yeah, try and get another $20 million deal next year.
I'd inquire about the offensive line. I'd say, hey.
Am I going to die?
How's that going?
Am I going to be ripped in half here?
How are we doing fielding an offensive line? Is it going better than it did?
Mm-hmm.
Because Geno, it didn't go so well.
Uh-huh.
But I was surprised. I just was. I was surprised that he'd sign up for that again. And I guess that the Raiders would invest money in a quarterback that may or may not be able to play when they're taking another quarterback with the number 1 pick.
Uh-huh.
Feels like a Raiders thing, no?
Yes. But Cousins is the easiest to just dismiss, right? It seems like he's a pretty good soldier as opposed to, what's the old man now with the, who was with the Bengals to end the year?
Joe Flacco?
Who's like, I don't want to hold a clipboard. I don't want to be a mentor. I think Kirk is like, pay me $20 million. I'll do whatever you want. I'll drive the kid to school. We'll drive your kids to school. whatever I have to do to keep making money, which, you know, he was a mid-round pick. Well, it's good for him. He's made hundreds of millions of dollars.
He was the second quarterback that the commies took in that draft.
So he's done well for himself by just being a good guy. He's made, this is crazy, $330 million in his career. by just being serviceable and good and likable.
You like that. Do you remember who the commies picked in the first round that very same year?
Wasn't Cardale Jones.
Oh, no.
Who was it?
RG3.
RG3. Oh, yeah, well, that was a good pick.
RG3?
He got hurt, but RG3 was awesome when he was healthy.
Was he?
Yeah. Yes.
Was he?
Yes.
I don't know if that's true. He did play in one playoff game where Mike Shanahan sacrificed him to the injury gods, but I don't know if I'd call him that great.
Well, that was his issue. And then Cousins ended up being okay, so they
had to franchise him a bunch of years, which is why he made that much money. And then he went to Minnesota and signed 2 huge deals.
And then signed a big one with Atlanta.
And the Atlanta one was he's just stealing from Atlanta. And frankly, he's just stealing from the Raiders now, too.
Yeah.
So maybe he's not such a good guy. Maybe he's a thief.
Yeah, well, whatever you got to do.
That was a funny clip, though. You like that when he was way back in Washington.
Like that?
The original.
Indeed. All right, Ben, the Jazz did lose last night to the Nuggets. They have a bunch of losable games coming up in Houston, Oklahoma City, and I would even throw New Orleans into that category because they're not incentivized to lose, leaving the last 2 games, a home game against Memphis and at L.A., a little bit more up in the air. But you know what? And to bring this back to our first segment, if you got to take a win to let Brice go out and show what he can do, or let Ace go show what he can do, or let Cody get a career-high 9 assists like he did last night or whatever, I say go for it. I don't think – I think things are so random at the end of the NBA season, Ben, that we're all control freaks. We all want to control stuff. But what is even controllable in this scenario isn't worth it.
Will Hardy has gotten very good at knowing what rotations he can play to win and lose games and build up leads and lose leads, and he's dialed that in pretty well, I think, towards the end of the season. And in all honesty, I will not rule out the Jazz just sidelining some guys for the rest of the year at some point. You're 5 games left now.
Who's left to sideline, though?
Yeah, that is the problem. But it could honestly be Flip, or it could be Brice Sensabaugh. It could be anybody who they think is going to help them win a game. But they are playing 8 men already. Kevin Love is not on the injury report. Svi is not on the injury report, and those guys aren't stepping up and playing. So, yeah, you look at the rotation again. It's like last night they didn't have a starting point guard because Elijah Harkless is out. And Elijah Harkless had been particularly good against defending Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. So, I don't know if his hamstring's bugging him or if that was strategic, whatever it was for the Jazz. But they are, in a spot now where last night they started Brice, Cody, Ace Bailey, Oscar Tshiebwe, and Kyle Filipowski. And then off the bench was Bez Mbang, Kennedy Chandler, and I can't remember who the third player was that's playing off the bench now.
Oh, I've got it in front of me. Hang on.
But essentially nobody, and that's not a knock on those players. That's who's available, and those guys are out there and giving it their all. But the third player the Jazz played off the bench was John Conchar, of course. So you're right. They're already basically only playing an 8-man rotation, which is about as thin as you want. And you don't really want, especially Ace Bailey, racking up 40 minutes at this point and, risking hurting himself going into the summer. Or same with Cody and Kyle and Brice, who have played well enough, I think, to warrant being brought back or have a chance to be brought back next year. So I get why you're still playing who you are, and maybe, you aren't able to sit anybody else, but I don't think the Jazz are going to win any of these 3 on the road. And then we'll see, I guess, what the standings are then. But that's how I would play it if I were the Jazz. I would not be worried about what Sacramento's doing. As you have said a lot, the die is basically cast. And you don't even know what the outcome's going to be a month from now in the lottery and then a month from there from the draft. So just play. You're not going to lose your pick. You've done what you have to. That's the most important thing. I don't think you need to get greedy at this point.
Minutes last night. Kennedy Chandler, 32.
Mm-hmm.
Bez Mbang, 23. Surprised it wasn't more, honestly. Conchar, 29. And then everybody else outside of Tshiebwe. Tshiebwe played 21, but everybody else played pretty much in the 30s to low 30s. So I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you could bench Phil, and then you truly have no
bigs.
Anybody resembling a big, because hey, I love Oscar Tshiebwe and his rebounding ability, but the dude is like 6'8", 6'7". He's not tall. He plays big, but he's not actually all that big. I don't think it's necessary, not for this road trip.
No, at all.
I mean, I guess if
No.
things want to get a little wild in the last couple of games, then we could be in store for one of those double overtime Grayson Allen type games. My least favorite game in Jazz history.
Well, it was the last game of the season. The Jazz wanted to lose, and Grayson Allen put on 40.
But the other team wanted to lose too. You remember that?
Yeah.
And then it went to double overtime. Was it the Clippers?
It was.
Because they were trying to get a better playoff match. They wanted the Jazz in the second round,
Everybody
right?
wanted a better playoff matchup in that. The Jazz were trying to get Portland and avoid Houston or whatever it was, and they ended up with Houston.
They ended up with Houston, and L.A. was trying to get the Jazz in the second round and avoid somebody.
Well, they didn't get the Jazz in the second round.
And it was the worst game ever played,
Yeah.
and it went to double overtime. And Ben's guy, Grayson Allen, went crazy. I don't know what we're in for in the last two games of the season, but I hope, especially against Houston, let them loose. Let them go out there and play. I want to see any – one thing about Denver taking a lead yesterday that did for the Jazz, and you alluded to this earlier in the show, it let them play.
Mm-hmm.
Denver 2 games ago when the Jazz, had a lead in the fourth quarter, right? All of a sudden, Will had to pull all these guys, and they couldn't pour it on because they had to lose the game, and Denver ended up coming back to win. At least with the Jazz down 10-15, you can let Brice go out and go to work.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe show some stuff. I would. By the way, quick side note on Brice, I wish he would stop complaining so much.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of turned this late season into, he's got his arms up like this after every possession.
Brice is really talented. I talked to him about this last night. I think I didn't say this, but we talked to him about his emotions and controlling them, and he is his own worst enemy by far. Brice gets in his own head. He gets frustrated by the refs as a result. He gets frustrated when he misses shots. He goes on these long cold streaks. It hurts his shooting percentages overall. Brice just needs to be a little bit more of a cold-blooded killer, and he's just not. He's like a nice guy, and he cares a lot. And I think it's detrimental to him. And yeah, same when he feels like he's been fouled. He just doesn't run back. And his whole thing is just he's never going to be a great defensive player. He's trying harder on that end. He's better than he was as a rookie, but he just has to run back. He just has to be in the right spot more often.
Well, I think dude's feeling some pressure because he is one of the guys who has an opportunity to really show his stuff.
And he could sign a contract this summer.
And I agree with you that he is playing harder on defense. He's taking charges and doing things that we never saw him do. And I do think there's a role for him on the Jazz going forward, or really on any NBA team. How big is Brice? What's he, like 6'7", 6'6"?
Yeah.
Am I giving him too much?
Yeah.
Big enough is the point. Physical enough. He's not wafer thin, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
And he can really shoot.
He can really shoot and he can score.
And so if you can do those other things at a serviceable level, maybe you're not starting, maybe you're not playing 35 minutes, but you're useful. And I think there's probably some pressure to prove that. He would probably tell you his ceiling is a lot higher than that. I'd be disappointed in him if he said, well, yeah, I think I'm kind of a 12-minute-a-night guy.
Yeah.
Probably can a couple threes for you. But you look at the names like Phil and Sensabaugh. I don't put Cody and Ace into this category because I don't think it's do or die for either of those guys.
Yeah, I agree.
But it is do or die for Brice and Phil. Not do or die like you're not going to be in the league anymore, but do or die like you got to get a contract to stick with a contending team, all that stuff. There's a lot of pressure there on both those guys. And they both played awesome last night. They both were really, really good. So I do sympathize with, if you want to talk about the Brice's, roller coaster a little bit, and you're certainly right about it, but I do get it because there is a lot of pressure on that dude because the line between in the NBA and not in the NBA is a very thin one, and not that they're walking it per se, but they're certainly walking it with the Jazz.
And I doubt Brice has looked at this, but I would suspect the odds of sticking in the NBA, if you end up on a second team before the end of your rookie contract, drop dramatically.
Even though where he was picked, I don't know if that's true where he was
Yeah,
picked.
maybe not as the 27th overall pick, but you will move off a bust.
If you're the 8th pick and you don't make it to the
really
end of your rookie deal, if you're James Wiseman, that's probably not a good sign.
But I know Brice really likes Utah. I know he likes playing in Salt Lake City. I'm sure more importantly than anything, he loves having a job. So I think he would prefer to be here. And I think he's done enough to be back next year.
Well, and to further an example that works to the contrary, who's Indiana's guy they got from Boston? Why am I going blank right now? Helped him go to the finals. Give me a second. I'll look up.
Came from Vanderbilt, I think.
But he didn't make it to the end of his rookie deal in Boston.
Correct. And that was a mistake by Boston.
And then he ends up in Indiana, and he really helped them win a bunch of games. And you do not want to be Boston in
Aaron
that.
Nesmith.
Aaron Nesmith. Thank you very much. You do not want to be Boston in that scenario.
Right.
You do not want to be the Jazz where you've got Brice and you're evaluating and you look and you're like, well, you like this, but not necessarily that. Let's, give a look to another guy. And then Brice goes to wherever.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden is a key component on the team.
I think there's a real chance, and maybe it's because you're swayed by what's happened at the end of the season. I know if you listen to the Zach Lowe podcast, he was very complimentary of the Jazz's young players recently, which not a lot of people are watching the Jazz's young players, but we know what the starting five is.
And neither is Zach, to be fair.
Correct. But we know who the starting five is most likely next year. Keontae George, Ace Bailey, Lowry Markin, and Jaren Jackson Jr., Walker Kessler. That's going to be your five guys. I think John Konchar and Svi Mikhailiuk both come off the bench and play a lot next year. I think those are guys that the Jazz are going to pencil in, and you're going to need a backup point guard. You're going to need a backup five. You're probably going to need a backup four. Will Hardy has traditionally played 10 guys. Well, I think Flip is going to take one of those spots. I think he's going to be your backup four. So you need a backup point guard and you need a backup five. And if the Jazz just can go out and sign Yusuf Nurkic, I think they'll bring him back. And then you're talking about one point guard spot, and that doesn't really concern Brice Sensabaugh or Cody Williams. So they are looking at being maybe the 11th or 12th men, or Brice is competing with Svi Mikhailiuk, who's been in the NBA a lot longer and is hitting shots at a higher rate. And that's the difficult spot for them. But I also think, if you're talking about Svi or you're talking about Blake Hinson on a two-way contract potentially coming back and competing, might as well just keep your young guys around. Keep Cody, keep Brice. They're under contract. They're relatively affordable. And if there is still some Aaron Nesmith to be pulled out of them, then give them another year. Look, it's low cost, low risk, certainly. Bigger risk to let them go, I guess, somewhere else and flourish, especially when you have some guys in front of them who can play. I don't think by signing them or keeping them around, you're hurting your salary cap all that much.
Our buddy Nick Olczyk joins the show. Coming up next, the Mammoth in the final playoff push. Will they hang on to that one wild card spot? We'll ask Nick what he thinks. Coming up next, stay tuned. It's Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
Who's got it better than us?
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're going to talk some Mammoth hockey with our guy Nick Olczyk coming up here momentarily. Ben, you've been to Seattle a number of times. Oh, you vacationed there.
Not long ago.
Yeah, not long ago. Pike's Market.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts?
A+.
Oh, I thought super overrated.
I mean, it's a tourist trap, but it's a cool, unique thing that they have that you don't really find anywhere else.
A fish market?
That fish market specifically? Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's that implies one. You'll find a market like that at any
you can go
coastal
to
town.
San Francisco and find one.
Yeah.
Like that?
No, I thought
saying.
it was cool. I thought it was cool.
All right. He, of course, is a part of the Mammoth broadcast. He's nice enough to join us on Tuesdays, the one and only Nick Olczyk. What's going on, Nick?
What's up, boys? Jake and Ben. Hello from the Emerald City here in Seattle, and a misty, rainy morning, but hopefully a great game tonight.
As has been the case, and I think why the Mammoth are positioned as well as they are this year is even when things seem to be getting worse and falling apart, and they go, I think, 2-7-1 in a stretch and aren't looking particularly good. They go on the road against the Kings and look absolutely dominant. 6-2, played well from the opening puck drop throughout the entire game, and now it feels like they've got their momentum back.
Yeah, I think momentum this time of the year, boys, is so crucial, especially as you start to push towards the playoffs. As a team, you want to be playing your best hockey. You want to have everything firing on all cylinders, and during the year, it's kind of one big buildup. I mean, it's an 82-game grind, especially this year, even more than than other years because of the condensed schedule, because of the Olympics that took place in February. But overall for this team right now, you want to be playing your best hockey, and that's, I think, a big reason that leads to that. Well, is special teams, power play, penalty kill it's been very solid lately for the Mammoth, and when you got those parts of your games that you're very confident in, that are really clicking, I think that gives you an upper hand on most nights to not. Because if you can win the special teams battle, if you can kill off a couple of penalties while staying disciplined, yes, of course, but also having the power play come through at some important moments, then all of a sudden you're going to like the way the scoreboard is looking at the end of most games. So I think this team should be feeling very confident. The teams below them in the standings, I mean, it's an absolute dogfight right now. It's almost as if nobody wants to get that second wild card spot, because just when one team wins, another couple lose and whatnot. So it's a battle, but for the Utah Mammoth, they're sitting in a heck of a spot in wild card one, and then the important part now is to keep building on the momentum that they've earned so far.
I asked a really dumb question about hockey earlier in the show, and as usual, we take our dumb questions to you because you don't make us feel dumb for asking them. Could a particular venue manipulate the ice for betterment of the team? Like if you had a slow team, could you have slushy ice? Or if you like Mammoth, they're fast, right? Can you really freeze that sucker and make it fast? Do they do that? Is that a thing?
No, it's a very interesting question, though, guys, because, home ice advantage, and there are different parts of different buildings, I would say, that do differ in terms of, some of the boards in certain arenas are a little bit more bouncy. I think back to the old days of Joe Louis Arena where the Detroit Red Wings used to play. I mean, their backboards were like trampolines where defensemen would intentionally shoot the puck wide if maybe the shooting lane was blocked by a defender. So they would shoot it wide and they would angle it off the backboards perfectly so it would bounce right to the front of the net, and a goalie would have no clue, and then there'd be a player right there in the blue paint ready to bang it home. So I would say that there are some differences in terms of the arena build. But as far as the ice goes, no, that's all regulatory through the league. There are certain mandatory ways that the ice is made to try to make sure that it is an even and level playing surface no matter the arena. So not at all a dumb question, because there are other parts of arenas that are a little bit different. Another example would be the partitions that keep the panes of glass together. In some arenas, those are a little bit more pronounced. So if a player is entering the zone and they shoot the puck around the glass, they put it up around the glass to try to send it around the net. Sometimes they'll aim for a specific stanchion, and then it can kick off of that and boot right to the middle of the ice. And then all of a sudden the goalie is anticipating to go stop the puck behind his net, and then he's caught dead to rights there with the puck kind of deflecting out into the middle, and who knows, maybe you can run and play that way. So there are differences, but in terms of the ice, no, that is very strictly watched for all 32 arenas to make sure that for the safety of the players first and foremost, that the sheet of ice that they're playing on is the same no matter where they're at. And there are, of course, two different challenges in different places in different markets. For example, down in Florida with the crazy humidity, ice might be a little bit more choppy, might be a little bit more slow with the humidity getting into the building, eating into the ice, as opposed to maybe a little bit more of a colder and a dry place like Utah. So there are differences, but when it comes to the ice, for the safety of the players, the league is very tight in making sure that those regulations are followed.
Mammoth are sitting at 82 points. The Kings are now in the second wild card spot at 78 after getting a win last night. San Jose's at 77, Nashville's at 77, Winnipeg's at 76. Who's the most dangerous team, you think, on the heels of the Mammoth?
Well, it's hard to argue against the LA Kings, and not just because of where they're currently sitting in that second wild card spot, as you had mentioned. But I think another team to really keep an eye on is the Winnipeg Jets. And it was not too long ago that the Jets were 11 points from being out of a playoff spot. Right now, they're 2 out, and they've got an unbelievable tiebreaker in terms of regulation wins. So if at the end of the year, two teams have the same amount of points, whichever team has won in regulation in 3 periods, that's going to be the team that gets the higher seed or that makes the playoffs. And the Winnipeg Jets right now have 25 of those regulation wins. The team just ahead of them, 2 spots out in Nashville. They got 25 as well. San Jose had an unbelievable comeback win last night against the Anaheim Ducks. They're just a 1 point out from LA. So you've got a lot of teams here. And then, of course, the Seattle Kraken, who the Mammoth are playing tonight, they're 3 points out, and they've also got 25 regulation wins. So in terms of Utah, they're in a heck of a spot. But that Winnipeg Jets team, man, when they get rolling, and it has been very much a volatile season for them this year, when they get rolling, they've got Connor Hellebuck, who we all saw what he can do when the lights are the brightest at the Olympic Games, helping Team USA to a gold medal. Mark Scheifele, Josh Morrissey on the back end, and Kyle Connor, one of the better snipers in the league. That to me, I think, is a team that I would sit there and say on the outside looking in, that's a team that's got a great shot. But the LA Kings, they're always a tough out because of how well and how hard they defend. Especially under their newer head coach, DJ Smith, after Jim Hiller was fired. But I'm keeping my eyes locked on the Winnipeg Jets because, that's a team that has had to battle and has had to play playoff hockey here for the last couple of weeks to ensure that at least they give themselves the best chance to get in.
Is it common, or do you expect any changes to the lineup down the stretch? Do teams mess with lines and that sort of thing at this point in the season?
That's one thing that Andre Tourigny has never been shy about doing, is changing the lines when things are not working. You go a game or two where you don't generate anything and everybody just looks a little bit stale. Okay, that's a cause to change the lineup and to try to look for a spark. When the team kind of hockey rule of thumb is barring injury, you're going to roll with the same lineup and to keep things as similar and keep things as in as good a cohesion as you can amongst the lines, amongst the deep pairings. So this time of the year, unless it's offensively challenging for the squad, you're looking at the same lineup from game to game, barring, of course, injury, and then you got to try to find a way to make a change that works and bring in a guy that can fill a role. It may not be the same role, but fill a role that you're looking for to try and give your team and yourself the best chance to win. But we're watching the Seattle Kraken at their morning skate right now. I'm sure we'll keep everybody abreast of what goes on at Utah's morning skate, and always watching who's going with who at the start of the day, so it can help us with our planning and prepping purposes. But it's this time of the year, guys, everybody's playing hurt. Everybody's playing less than 100%, and so it's very much a battle of attrition out there.
Nick, I do think it's promising that over the last 2 games, even though it includes a loss to Washington, though they started out well, and then, of course, what we saw against the Kings is that we're seeing a lot from Dylan Guenther and Logan Cooley. Like, I think I had thought that, the veterans are going to have to carry them across the finish line, and it seems like the young players are stepping up in the biggest games.
No doubt, and I think they're learning a lot from some of the veterans that the Utah Mammoth have. When you look at the veterans, the guys that have been around a long time, the Ian Coles, Mikhail Sergachev. I mean, he hasn't spent 15 years in the league, but he knows what it takes to win with his 2 Stanley Cups with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think those are the guys you got to rely on. Other players that maybe haven't played years worth of games in the playoffs, but a guy like an Alexander Kerfoot who's been around the block a couple hundred times, and guys that know how to play in these pressure games. And it's not always the take a guy aside, put your arm around him, and describe exactly what you got to eat that day for a pregame meal. I think it's just when you go through the inevitable adversity throughout a game, throughout a season, throughout a playoff series, just to look to the left and the right on the bench and know that you've got guys that are sitting there calm and they're not overthinking, they're not getting all emotional, they're just riding the wave of being as even keel as they can. I think that really does go a long way. And when you have the skill set that the likes of Cooley and Guenther have, well, you're already steps ahead of most other guys. And, you think about some of the big moments that those two in particular have had this season. Game-winning goals, huge plays, not just offensively, but defensively as well to help the team win. This team, the Utah Mammoth, they're set up to win for a long time. Not just because these players chose to sign long-term deals, but the culture that is being built and a willingness and a want to play in the game and the season's biggest moments. I think that counts for a lot. And so no matter how this run goes, no matter how it ends, all I know right now, boys, is that everybody on this roster, especially these young guys, are going to learn a lot about themselves, a lot about the team, and a lot about what it takes to be at your very best game in and game out this time of the year through this run, no matter how it goes. And of course, we're all hoping that it ends in a playoff berth, and I think that will go a long way for this Mammoth team and some of those younger players that are going to be studs in the entire league for a long time to come.
You remember the broadcast where the flagship station, are we all contractually obligated to grow a playoff beard? Is that a thing? Do we have to do that?
Obligated, no. But last I checked, I've been growing and grooming my playoff beard for the last 2.5 years of my life, boys. So I will keep mine going. But if you want, I would highly suggest that a playoff beard should be in both of your futures.
Well, now you have to grow it out. You can't trim it up, right? Isn't that the
rule?
But
I want to keep it groomed. I want that's the part where I struggle. That's the part I struggle with just letting it get all out of control. But we'll see.
What's more important, Nick, your vanity or playoff victories, man? I mean,
playoff success, no question, no question. So I'm going to give it some thought.
Okay.
You may have persuaded me a little bit, but let's just get there first. The Mammoth are in a heck of a spot, so let's get there first and then make our grooming decisions after that.
All right, fair enough. I'm not a beard grower, so there's some prep that needs to go into that for me. I need like a week's head start.
I got some beard oil I can lend you if you want.
How's your beard game, Ben? You're cleanly shaven.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christian's got strong beard game. He could make it happen. Nick, we appreciate you and thank you as always for coming on. Enjoy the game tonight.
Anytime, boys. Keep up the great work, and we'll talk to you soon. Back at you, Nick.
I was going to ask Nick if hockey players were superstitious, and then I thought of the playoff beer. Of course they are.
Yeah, big time. You mentioned, and Nick had talked to us about it last week, 90 points kind of being the number.
90 to 95.
95 would mean they basically win out. If you get to 95, it means I think you've maybe lost one game and tied another. But
you've got 8 games left.
8 games left, so that would be, yes, you're 15 points away from that now. So to get 16 points, meaning you could only tie one game or lose in overtime.
Away from 95.
Are they at 82 now? Okay, they're 82. So, yeah, a loss and a tie. I was right the first time. The advantage there, and obviously, maybe this is just too obvious, but it's just so hard for the other teams to get up to that high of a score. It's hard to get that many points. It's hard for Nashville, the Kings, Winnipeg to add 13 points because that means they basically have to be perfect. That's the advantage now that the Mammoth find themselves in, but they have to play well. They can't give games away, and they have done that at times this year. They certainly got in their own heads about playing against Chicago and couldn't figure out how to beat that team despite the fact that they're more talented and more experienced. You've got to avoid that.
I did wonder that about the lines. How much do you appreciate continuity? How much do you change things up? Sounds like Tierney's he's not afraid to change things up a little bit. I don't know how extreme you get, though. Do you move Sergachev to offense?
Sure. Yeah, he's the center now.
We're swapping Sergachev and Schmaltz. Let's see how that goes. We're going to throw it against the wall.
I think you want to rattle players. You know what I mean? If everyone feels like you're making these crazy Hail Mary passes or adjustments to keep the team ahead, I do think that can probably rattle you. Though we've seen success where there'll be a line with Cooley and Keller on it, which we have not seen a whole lot of at times. We've seen him run with that for an entire game, or it has a good first shift because something happens on the penalty kill and they end up on the ice together and end up playing well when they get back to full strength. So I think that's what we could look for sure.
Veggie, you're moving to wing. Go out there and win one.
Where I think is we might just see Veggie the rest of the way. I think that might be the case.
Stay tuned. We wrap up Jake and Ben. Coming up next, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, These guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on the airways, talking sports. They got him made Jakes and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarf. Oh my.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Wrapping up a Thursday show.
I know you hate April Fool's Day.
Oh, yes, I do.
Seems like some fans of the Washington Wizards also hate April Fool's Day. Have you seen this? So, the Wizards this morning had to issue an apology. It says, "We apologize for last night's April Fool's joke." This is on social media. That left many wondering if we had misled a fan. The skit involving our mascot and other members of our performance team was scripted and intended to celebrate the day. All participants were in on the joke, but we missed the mark. Our fans are our priority, and we continue to be committed to providing a positive experience to all who attend our games. Last night, they did the thing where they blindfold a fan and have him shoot a shot from half court and then pretend it goes in to win $10,000. So this fan thinks he wins 10 grand. All the crowd celebrates. The fans, the mascot, the cheer team or whatever goes crazy. And then they have to reveal to the fan that he did not, in fact, win the money. Well, apparently, though the guy who shot the ball was in on it, which, bad news for everybody, they're always in on it, fans did not realize that this was a skit for everybody. And they felt bad thinking another fan had been swindled or misled.
You mean the Rocket fan in the crowd knew it when the bear dumped popcorn on him?
The guy who gets the fake donut at the Jazz game, the guy who gets the cake in the face, the guy who gets his hat stolen, the guy who gets his jersey ruined. Yes, it's well aware of what's happening here. But apparently, there are so few fans at Wizards game night after night that they don't realize that this is all for show. Hey, I would like to say I'm a fun sucker, but this is the Wizards issuing an apology on social media because apparently there was such an outcry.
Okay. What's the most relevant thing to happen to the Wizards in a while?
Correct.
Ben, you going to go home and tell your kids that Santa's not real too?
That's what's happening.
Whoa. We are on the radio.
But
there are people listening.
That's literally what you just did.
No, I'm explaining why this happened last night.
And Christians explaining Christmas. What's the difference?
There's a huge difference.
I don't think there is, really. I think you just ruined the illusion for all the kids out there that happen to be listening and like watching the bear dump popcorn on a Rockets fan.
Well, I think you said that first, actually, if I remember correctly. And B, I am just reading what happened with the Wizards last night, who have to say that their April Fool's joke was fake.
It's good editorial selection by you. Are you going to watch the Fab 5 Altcast for the Final Four?
No, I will not.
Not going to jump on that?
Nope.
It's going to be on True TV, apparently.
Awesome.
Chris Webber, not my favorite analyst.
No, he's been terrible at the NBA. He's gotten better. He has gotten better, but no, I'll
Jalen's
just watch the regular broadcast.
Jalen Rose is wrong a lot, but he's good. I don't know, is Jimmy King any good at analysis? I haven't heard from him in a long time. They're having all 5 of them on, though.
Great. We have a bunch of guys talking about nothing.
Well, and cheering for Michigan.
You can have generally one athlete talking about the game, and then you have to have a media member keeping them in line to not get too distracted.
This is the problem with the Manning cast, which is entertaining at times, but they get too off in the weeds when they have a guest and stuff is going on and they're talking about.
This might be more interested during the Maui Invitational, but
when
this is
their
the Final Four. These games really matter.
Well, it's not going to be on the CBS broadcast.
No, it's not the main one, but right. But there will be a game with the main broadcast that actually is.
Who is it? Iron Eagle and is Grant Hill and old Raph again?
Probably. It's probably the group. So, yes, I will watch that one.
All right. Scotty G and friends are coming up next. Stay tuned.
Thanks, Christian.
Sorry,
for ruining Christmas.
We'll talk to you tomorrow. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope, she bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.